Hey, what's up? Have you ever stopped to think what would happen if, in Arc 1, Subaru went to Reinhard's house instead of Emilia's mansion? Would that simple change drastically alter the story? Good question. The number of people who asked about this topic was supernatural. So today I'm here to clear up that doubt for you. So if Subaru went to Reinhard's house instead of Emilia's house, what would happen? Well, let's see. In the very first episodes of the anime, we see Subaru racing against time to try and save Emilia from being knocked down by Elsa. In the best ending he managed, Subaru pushes Emilia away and defends himself from Elsa's attack, enduring all the damage. The thing is, Elsa's sword is like Wi-Fi, right? So it cut through everything. It cut through the weapon, his stomach, and almost cut him in half. Then he falls to the ground, all messed up. At that moment, Reinhard asks her famous question. Emilia, what are we gonna do with him? Can I take him to my house?
No, leave it to me. I'll take this piece of crap with me.
Following this line of reasoning in the anime, we see that it was Beatrice who truly healed Subaru, because she's skilled with healing magic. So, if Emilia took him, he would have gone to the main route, to Rosewall's mansion, and Beatrice would have healed him. But what if Subaru, instead of going to Rosewall's mansion, had gone to Reinhard's house? Let's suppose Emilia said,
You can take him. I don't have any free time. I have to take my grandma to karate.
What?
My ice cream is going to melt.
Han?
I have to watch Markiplier.
Wait, what?
Take that kid away. I don't want him.
Best Emilia impersonation of 2026. Who agrees? And just like Agano IF, which is incredible, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Even with his serious injuries, Subaru could be healed at Reinhard's house. At Rosewall's mansion, Beatrice used magic and healed him in 2 days. At Reinhard's house, it would probably take a week or even longer, because Reinhard can't use healing magic and doesn't have a doctor at his house, at least as far as I know. But okay, Subaru would stay at his house for a week, maybe 2, relaxed, under the protection of the strongest madman in the world, and would just lie in bed until all his wounds healed. The problem is this: what would Subaru do after recovering? Well, the answer isn't difficult. He would thank them for the treatment and then go after Emilia again. Even before the fight against Elsa, he was already interested in Emilia, and after saving her from Elsa's attack, man, the kid was completely in love. So, yes, he would go after Emilia and we would follow the main route again, but the video is about a different decision. What rhymes with different decision? It's not knowing what's ahead. Subaru sees that he saved Emilia and decides to follow his own path. He felt the weight on his conscience for almost letting her die, but since he managed to save her this time along with Reinhard, he was at peace. She had her insignia back. She was alive, so mission accomplished. He understood that the world is hostile, and even though he was in love with Emilia, he knew that even keeping a close eye on her, he would be sucking up to any enemy. That world was definitely not made for the weak. From that moment on, Rosewall's gospel would change the future again. It's incredible, isn't it? Subaru moves a needle and presto, Rosewall's book changes. The world ends tomorrow. What Subaru would do, at least initially, was study and train. Just like in the stories he read on Earth, he knew that strange things could happen in a fantasy world. The biggest proof of this is Emilia using spiritual arts, and that doesn't exist on Earth. People using magic and even the currency being different, so he knew he had to do something. If he asked Reinhard for help, he would certainly help. Of course, at first this would create some debt with Subaru, but Reinhard wouldn't hesitate to help Subaru if he needed it. And unlike Agano, he would train Subaru to reach the maximum level in writing, reading, and swordsmanship. He wouldn't be driven by haste or revenge against the cult, and would train all areas of his skills as much as possible. In a few months, he would already know how to use a sword like a royal knight, and would be prepared for any threat that world could pose to him. The guy would become incredibly powerful. Reinhard's divine protection is incredibly overpowered. Reinhard's divine protection is useful for anything you want to learn. If Reinhard is able to teach you and you want to learn, the speed of learning and mastery are overpowered. I say this because anything that would take years to learn and become a master of would take months or even weeks with Reinhard. Are you crazy, man? It's going to be incredibly overpowered. Holy shit. Subaru would soon become a much stronger and more capable person to live in Lugunica. This time the kid is much stronger. The problem is that in just a few months, some important events happen, like the royal selection, the whale attack, and the cult attack. But hold on, I'll get to that soon. I'm ignoring the attack on Arlem Village because regardless of whether Rosewall's gospel changes or not, this will always happen. After all, it's not Rosewall who sends Meili there, so it will always happen. And since Subaru doesn't interfere, Rem dies alone in the village because the puppy gave her that little bite and she died. She and Ram never met Subaru since he never went there, so there was no interaction. Emilia, Rosewall, and Ram would be very shaken by Rem's death, and they would mourn for a while. The village children would also die because Subaru didn't stop the attack, and with that, our little Petra would also die. Rosewall's reputation would fall even further, marking the beginning of the end of the mission Rosewall always wanted to achieve. Besides affecting Rosewall psychologically, these sad events would also affect Emilia psychologically, and her performance in the royal selection would likely be much worse. Beatrice would remain in her usual inertia, because she was always waiting for someone, and that person never arrived. Since Subaru never went there, they never saw each other. She kept losing those she loved, and that promised person would never come. Let's consider that Reinhard also chose Felt to be his candidate during this time. Subaru would spend time with Felt and learn even more about the world from her. And since she was a candidate for queen, he also discovered that Emilia would be too. Subaru accomplished accompanies Reinhard and Fell to the royal selection, and he would end up seeing Emilia in that down, depressed state. Even with Puck comforting her, she would still be very down. Puck wouldn't see any malice in Subaru and would allow him to help her, even though she was frowning at all the bad things happening in her life. Subaru could very well have gone his own way, but he couldn't bear to see Emilia so sad. He wanted to help her. He would try to help her become more confident, and he wouldn't let her be shaken by the loss of her friends. And by that point, he would already have a high level of fencing. He could even become a real knight if he wanted. But no, the guy wants to go after Emilia. There's no way around it. He would also be perfectly capable of having a good job. After all, he could read anything. He was strong and confident, and no matter what happened, he would go after Emilia anyway. Since Tutela still exists in this world, Subaru and Emilia's destinies are intertwined. The save point will only change in relation to Emilia, so even if Subaru decides to simply leave, both his love for Emilia and his destiny are always connected. He would eventually go to the mansion, but unlike the main route, he goes in Arc 3 and not Arc 2. There, he would finally meet Ram and Beatrice. Roswell wouldn't recognize him because from the moment Subaru becomes an important part of his book again, Roswell starts seeing the future again. Therefore, he would go to the sanctuary normally, and Subaru would never meet him at that point. And since Ram can't smell the witch, she'll be fine with Subaru and won't try to kill him. Subaru will gradually help Emilia become more confident and calm. And since the mansion was left without a maid, Frederica was called in to take Rem's place. After all, Ram is terrible at everything. Since Subaru returned after the royal selection process, he never needed treatment, and he went there afterward, as Emilia knew him anyway. The white whale attack was going to happen, but as usual on that channel, Krush was going to die for the 1000th time. Just like in the video I made, if Subaru had never been summoned, if Subaru hadn't helped Krush and her army, everyone would die. There's no way around it. The attack on the village would still happen, but Subaru would know how to defend much better than in the main route. But since he never experienced the loops of Arc 2, he wouldn't know about Betelgeuse's attack, and because of that, unfortunately Otto also died in that story. Even though Subaru is very strong, he would die several times before understanding the enemy's powers. Of course, he would prioritize Emilia's safety and be a little more arrogant, because he didn't have as much development as in Arc 3 and the main route. But he would manage to defeat Betelgeuse, but at the cost of losing practically the entire Arlam village. That's something, guys. Arc 4, things get complicated, and you'll see why. After Subaru gets rid of Betelgeuse, some time passes, and the group goes to the sanctuary as usual. Frederica stays at the mansion, since Ram goes along. Rem and Petra wouldn't be hired because they no longer exist in this timeline. From here, the story would continue as it does in the anime, at least initially. Only the scenes of Garfield trying to hit Subaru and Subaru managing to fight back would change things a little. Of course, if Garfield were in his beast form, Subaru would die. But in his base form, Subaru, with his high level of combat prowess, would be able to go fight with Garfield. Subaru would do the same things he did in the main route, with the slight difference that he's a bit stronger. He would definitely die a few times against Elsa and the Great Rabbits, since the element of surprise is what makes the difference. So in order for him to know who's going to kill him out of nowhere, he needs to go back in time. The biggest problem is, could he convince Beatrice to sign the contract with him? He didn't have months of living with her like in the original route. Without the emotional bond, making the contract would be nearly impossible. In Arc 2, Arc 3. In the Memory Snow OVA, there's a gap of months. Months without having met Beatrice. That could probably compromise his success in convincing her to choose him. So making a contract in that story would be very difficult. Not to mention, guys, doing the Sanctuary arc without Otto would be extremely difficult. Subaru probably wouldn't be able to go against Roswell's plans, and the vow mark would be activated on him if he made the same bet as in the anime. Considering that the mark of the vow is fixed on the soul, even if Subaru dies, which is very likely, he would still be marked. Otto is a very strategic guy, and without him to help Subaru, it's very difficult for Subaru to win alone. Garfield wouldn't be convinced, Beatrice wouldn't accept the contract, and Emilia would probably become Yandere because, well, everything's already screwed up. That's all that's left. Probably the ending of this story would be the root of greed. Subaru would end up doing whatever Echidna and Roswell want because Subaru simply can't defeat Roswell. He doesn't have the help he needs. He can't defeat the Sanctuary without Otto. Of course, if he were super powerful like in Overpowered IF, it would definitely work. But here, he's still just himself. Even being much stronger, he's still just one guy. Listen up, guys. For those who say Subaru just needs to train with Reinhard and he'll beat everyone in ReZero, that's the thing. Even with Reinhard, it takes time, and the events in ReZero don't stop. Subaru would waste a lot of time training while everyone else in the mansion is screwed, and the worst part is that this isn't even the worst case scenario. Think about it. If Subaru doesn't go with Emilia at the beginning, he doesn't damage the mana gate. If he doesn't damage it, he doesn't meet Felix. And if he doesn't meet Felix, he doesn't form an alliance with Crush. And if he doesn't meet Crush, he doesn't kill the whale. And if he doesn't kill the whale, Otto dies. He's already screwed up the whole story. End of story. Subaru is screwed. But what did you think of my perspective? Leave a comment below. And even if everything goes wrong, you can always start from zero again.